I've read a lot of books, and I realized that all the books, they all go to one main success philosophy. And I was originally actually going to go over 6 books. I was going to break down all of them and then go over all the common set rules that all the successful people have. But then I realized, why would I go over everything if I can just give you all the different sets? The reason why these books really helped me was because in high school, that's when I realized I wanted to become someone successful. I wanted to become someone who made a lot of money. I had dreams of living in Miami. I had dreams of making a lot of money, and I knew I was capable of it. But I remember one day, I was with my friends, and we were driving around. We weren't really doing too much. We were just, driving around, vaping. We didn't really have a set destination. We were just driving around, not really doing much, just killing time. But in high school, I realized, if I want to be successful early, I need to change now. I asked myself, can I actually change? And the first thought that came to my mind was, no, I can't change. And that kind of scary, because if I can't change, I'll always stay the same person. The toxic habits, the toxic traits, my introversion, my laziness, all that's going to stay the same. But something else told me that there is a way to change. I just don't know how to do it. I've never been taught how to do it. And the 6th book I was going to go over was, I was originally going to actually explain the 6 books that actually helped me change. But instead, I just distill all the information into, basically. And if you're curious to know what books they were Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, Atomic Habits by James Clear. It was Awaken the Giant Within as well by Tony Robbins, The Concise Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene, and then lastly, The 4 Agreements. So those are the 5 books that really helped me the most and really helped me get to where I am now. And I really hope that whatever we go over today, it will help you as well. So we're going to go over the 4 domains of personal success. So I categorize this into 4 different sections. And what I am going to do, though, is I'm going to leave the link for this here in the description, so that you can just have it for free, and you can just kind of take a look at it whenever you want to. But this is going to be some very powerful advice, and do not be like me. Do not wait to apply it, because I'm the type of person who learns something and then takes forever to apply it. So whatever you get from this, apply it as soon as you can. Okay. So the first thing we need to go over is yourself. So you got to realize that your inner world creates your outer world. So you need to realize that the most important thing in life, if you want to be successful, is to know yourself. So the first thing we have to go over is self-awareness. So self-awareness is knowing your patterns, your emotions, and your shadow as well. So I'm not going to go really specific into what the shadow or emotions or emotional patterns are. But some things that you do need to know about yourself is what are your emotional defaults? How do you feel on a day-to-day basis? Do you feel sad? Do you feel depressed? Do you feel happy? Do you feel joyful? Do you feel peaceful? Do you feel neutral? What do you feel every day? Because your emotional defaults every day is going to basically create your reality. So first, know your emotional defaults. And then also, you have to figure out what your self-image is. You have to figure out, how you view yourself as. How do you view yourself as? What do you see yourself as? Do you view yourself as someone who is strong? Do you view yourself kind? Do you view yourself as someone that is mean? Do you view yourself as someone that can't do certain things? Okay, you have to figure out, what do you see yourself as? And then once you figure out what you see yourself as, then you can change that. And you also need to know your fears. You need to know your shadow. Do shadow work. Carl Jung, there's a bunch of videos on YouTube to figure out how to do your shadow work. Very important. I've done a lot of shadow work myself, and I can tell you right now, shadow work really does work, because there is so much I didn't know about myself until I started doing shadow work. So you got to figure out how to do your shadow work, because that really, really, really does help. I can't stress that enough. Like, really do shadow work and really figure it out. I also want to learn what makes you unique. What are the specific talents that you have? What are the specific talents you have? What are the traits that you have that are specific to you that no one else has? What do people compliment you on? And then what are your dreams? What are your interests? What are your likes and your dislikes? What are your values and where are your boundaries? So these are going to be very important for you as well. You got to know your values because they are pretty important. You got to know what's actually important to you in this life. You have to figure out what's important to you. Figure out what's important to you now, because if you figure out what's important to you right now, obviously it's going to change in the future. So just try to figure out what you're prioritizing. I value my business right now and actually grow my business over relationships right now. That's what I want to prioritize in this stage of life. So values are important. You need to know what your values are. You need to know what your boundaries are, because you do not want people stepping over your boundaries. And if you don't know what your boundaries are, people are just going to step over them. That's why you need to do shadow work. And then again, back to what makes you unique. You need to know that so you can basically choose like a career that is specific to your talents. So that's a great place to start. So self is really knowing your patterns, your emotions, and your shadow. And this is a little bit different than emotional mastery. We are going to go over into like emotional mastery in the evolution section. But for now, let's go back to the decision. Every successful person made a decision to change. Every successful person made the decision to become successful. So once you know who you are, you need to make a decision to change. Decision is what actually allows you to change, okay? And the important thing about decision that I didn't even understand for some reason is that decision needs to be firm. Once you make a decision, don't go back on the decision, because you didn't make a decision. A decision is something that you set in stone and you do not change. You don't just go like, oh, I made a decision. Okay, let me go back on the decision. Because if you went back on the decision, did you even make a decision? It doesn't make sense. The most successful people I know, they made a decision that they need to change. They made a decision. The pain was so bad of what was happening in her life that they made the decision. They just made a decision to change. They had to do it. They made a firm decision and they burnt the boats. They didn't go back. Your brain adapts to finality, not half-hearted attempts. So if you have a decision that you also want to make, let's say you decided to quit smoking. I decided to quit smoking. Let's say 3 days go by and then you go back on your decision. You know what? One time won't hurt. And then you smoke. So in the beginning, was it even a decision? It wasn't a decision in the first place. So there's no point. If you're going to make a decision, stick to it. Decision, real decision, leaves no back door. So you need to make the decision to change either one, your identity, or number two, your life. You need to make that decision. As soon as you make that decision, that's when real change starts. Number three, self-confidence. Self-confidence was a really tricky one for me. It still is a tricky one for me. Because I used to believe that I had to deserve self-confidence, but you don't really need to. I doubted my abilities so many times in the past. Because when you start doubting your abilities, you're not going to be able to get anything done. If you start doubting things, there's no faith in. So you need to have faith and belief in yourself that you can achieve anything you want, no matter how big and no matter what happens. You have to have self-confidence that whatever you choose to achieve, you will do it with enough persistence. A common obstacle with self-confidence is you'll see your mistakes as reasons why you can't do something. And that is a horrible mindset to have, because I had that mindset a lot as well. I used to have the mindset, you know what, I make this cold call, oh, they hung up on me. I'm the worst salesman ever. I suck at this. This is the worst. It's not something that you need to be ashamed about. It's something that you need to learn from. It's feedback. But as long as you don't let failure determine your self-worth, then you'll be good. So that's why you need to detach from outcomes. And then that's why doubt isn't real. If you notice when you have doubt, the reasons that the doubt gives you, like the reasons why something may not work, is because it's trying to protect you from potential pain. It's not really keeping you safe. It's holding you back. It's really just holding you back. It's not keeping you safe whatsoever. So, doubt was never real to begin with. You have to remember, doubt was something that was programmed into you. Get rid of doubt completely. Don't ever let doubt control your mind. Once you recognize doubt in your mind, get rid of it right away, because that's a thought that is weak. Get rid of it right away. Don't ever doubt yourself, and don't ever doubt your plans. It also comes with actually doing the actions that would make you confident. So you have to do the hard things. And when you do the hard things, and you say you'll do the hard things, you have to do it no matter what. Because the more you can actually trust what you say and what you tell yourself, the more self-confidence that you build. If you say, I am going to the gym at this time, go to the gym. Because after the time passes, let's say you go to the gym, you say you're going to go to the gym. Let's say you say you're going to the gym. Let's say you say you're going to the gym at like 9 p.m. Okay? If you do not go to the gym at 9 p.m. and you have some sort of excuse at the back of your mind, you're going to know that you just made an excuse. And if you keep doing that, you're going to have a less self-confidence. And that's where a lot of people go wrong. They say you're going to stop something. They say you're not going to eat junk food anymore. They say they're going to stop smoking weed. They say they're going to stop drinking. They say they're actually going to go to the gym. But they always don't follow through. And that's why they don't have self-confidence. And self-confidence is really important. Because if you can't do the little things right, and if you can't actually trust yourself, your own words, what happens when you have a huge company? And you have to do things. What's going to happen? If you can't do the little things right, you can't do the big things right. So that's why having that self-trust equals self-confidence. And that's why you have to stack proof, no matter how small. So if all you have to do is just do the things that you say you'll do. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be perfect at all. If you say you're going to make your bed, make your bed. Make that your mission to make your bed. Because the number one thing that matters the most is that you develop self-confidence and self-trust. That's very, very important. It's very crucial. Because that's what the entire foundation is built upon. Any success is built upon having that self-confidence, even having an ego sometimes, even having that delusion that you can do anything. That's how that is built. You need to have that. You have to have that self-confidence, unshakable. And you have to remember, self-confidence, more and more of it is built over time. So it's 1% better every day. All you have to do is get 1% better every day. That's it. The second domain is vision. Purpose and vision is very, very important. You need to have a very, very specific purpose and a very, very specific chief aim in life. Purpose is very important. It's your North Star. Because if you don't know where you're going, you're just going to be chaotic. You're just going to be doing random things. If you don't know what you're doing, it's going to be chaos. You're just going to start floating. You need something that's going to center you and guide you towards something. Every human is happiest when they're going toward a goal that they make themselves. So you need a purpose. And that purpose, it creates pull. And when you have a solid enough purpose and you know what you actually want to create, discipline becomes a lot easier. So purpose is like your why. And you have to have emotional feel behind it. It could be providing for your family. It could be proving yourself right. It could be proving to yourself that you can do something. It could be proving others wrong. It could be anything. It could be helping your mom. It could be helping your dad. It could be helping your grandma. It could be setting financial freedom for your entire bloodline. It could be anything. But you have to have an emotional feel. Something that, like, if you achieve that, you know your life is going to be awesome. Because that's what your purpose is. That's what you're here for. You need to have that purpose. You need to find out what that is for you. You need to remember why you're doing it. And the purpose is going to drive action and persistence. If you have a strong enough purpose, you're going to take big action. You're going to be very persistent. It has to be, like I said, emotionally intense. It just can't just be a casual thing. Like, oh, I need to make money. That's my purpose behind this. That's not it. It has to be something deeper than just money. So once you figure out why you want a certain thing, you also have to figure out what it actually is. But specifically, you need to know exactly what it looks like. What's the mental image behind the goal? Behavior is governed by mental images of achievement. Without a clear picture, you can't mobilize or motivate yourself to act. If you want something, if you want to achieve something, you have to know exactly what you want. Exactly. This is an image of me in the future. You're probably like, how did you get that image from the future? I time travel. And the way I time travel is I manifested. I manifested time travel. I'm just kidding. I didn't manifest time travel. But this is me in the future. So I have a very clear image of exactly what I want to look like. So this image describes a feeling that I have. So this is a very clear image of what I want. And I hang it up on my wall every day to remind myself of exactly what I want my life to look like. And if you can remind yourself every single day of what it is, it doesn't matter how unlikely it may seem, it's going to happen. If you can repeat it every single day, it's going to happen. So that's why you have to have a good imagination. You need to know exactly what you want. So visualization activates and reinforces an intellectually formed plan. And when imagination is harnessed and focused on rewards, it creates motivation, discipline, and willingness to sacrifice and then sustain enthusiasm. That's what you want. And the more vivid and the more repeated the image is, the more real it becomes. Until I made this image, I didn't start working out again. But every day I looked at this, I'm like, I need to work out eventually. So I started working out. And then I know for a fact I'm going to get to this point, no matter what. And the last thing here is faith. So whatever happens, you cannot lose faith in the vision. Faith is not just hoping it's going to happen, because hoping comes from a state of lack. Knowing comes from assumption. It's the belief in the unseen future. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. You know how powerful that statement is? That is exactly why you need to know exactly what you want and how it looks like and repeat it every single day. Because the dreams that you have are very, 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 very possible. You have to just believe it. And you need to know exactly what you want. This is so crucial for you. So crucial for you. You need to have a vision, because without a vision, you just lose hope for everything. Without a vision, you do not know where you're going. So you need a vision. And that's important. Figure out exactly what vision you want and stick to it. Once you have your vision, obviously you need to actually make sure that you're taking action towards it, because you can have a vision all the time, but if you're not taking action toward it, you won't get that. Is number one, focus, systems, and persistence. So those are going to be the three things that you need for good action. So in focus, most people do not fail from a lack of effort, they fail from scattering their energy. Focus is how you multiply time. Energy flows where attention goes. So you need to have focus. The more focus and the more laser focus you have, the more multiplied your effort actually becomes. Because if you have several focuses at once, your mind is trying to complete several different background tasks. Let's say you're doing school. Let's say you have a girlfriend. Let's say you're also doing a business, side business, and you're doing another drop shipping business. You have too much going on. And your mind is always trying to solve problems in the back of your mind. In your subconscious mind, it's always trying to solve these problems. What if you just deleted all of those and you just chose one thing? All your mental energy is going to be focused on solving one problem and getting to one thing. Because that one thing is going to get you a lot further than all 4 things combined. Less is always more. So you have to have focus on one thing. And that's in the macro projects and also where your attention goes. So let's say you're working. Let's say you're writing something out. Oh, and then you go on YouTube for 1 quick second. Then you go on Shorts for a little bit. And then you realize, I went on Shorts. I have to get back to work. And then you get back to work. And then you're like, what was I even thinking about? Where was I even going with this? You lost your train of thought. So you have to continually re-enter that train of thought. So you have to cut distractions mercilessly. You have to protect your inputs. What you watch, what you hear, what you consume. Because you can watch a lot of junk on the internet. You can watch a lot of junk, trust me. You can watch the news. You can watch Fortnite videos. But for protecting your inputs, none of that's going to take away from your purpose. Cut all that out. Protect your inputs. Because your outputs are actually directly correlated to your inputs. Your outputs are directly correlated to your inputs. So you have to remember that. Inputs equals outputs. And that's a universal law. There's no way going around that. So if you have bad inputs, you will have bad outputs. If you try to have good and bad inputs, you're going to have good and bad outputs. So what you have to do is try to figure out how to most optimize your inputs. How do you get the most optimal and the most good amount of inputs? How do you think the right thoughts? How do you do the right actions? How do you do that so you can get the best outputs? That's why optimizing and figure out what you actually need to do, what you need to spend your time on, is actually going to help you. Make sure that you're actually taking focused action instead of just busy action, okay? Make sure that whatever action you do is actually pushing you forward the most. 80% of results come from 20% of action. So make sure that the action that you are doing gets you the furthest, okay? Whatever you're focusing on now gets you the furthest. And so you have to really figure out how to do those really, really well, okay? So make sure that you're saying no to whatever doesn't move the needle. Don't change your logo. Don't change this and that. Don't change the little time. If they don't make you money, don't worry about them. So you have to figure out what's the biggest actions I can take that were actually helping the most. So that's focus there. Focus on doing the right inputs so you can get the right outputs. And get to the right vision that you were thinking about. Okay? Systems, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So that's what basically like Atomic Habits was saying. So willpower fades, but systems sustain. So that's why you have to have structure in your life. So structure lets you focus on execution, not decision. That's why a lot of billionaires, when they wake up, they wear the same thing every day, so they don't have to think about what they need to actually wear. They have a system in place, so they don't have to think about it. They can just focus on doing the most important tasks. That's why you need to have a schedule in place, a set time to go to sleep, a set time to wake up, a set time to go to the gym, a set time to work, a set time to study, a set time to eat, set time for everything. So you need to have structure in your life. If you can figure out what to do every single day at the same exact time, you can focus on actually executing, building rhythm, building momentum, and trust. So you need to design your environment to make the right action frictionless. So you have to have easy ways of doing things. Like if you want to journal, have your journal right next to you. If you want to read, have your books right next to you. If you want to drink more water, have a water bottle with you all the time. So you have to design your environment that actually helps you. And then another big thing is tracking your progress. because tracking your progress helps you build momentum to stay in the momentum. So systems are very important because they protect you on the days that you do not feel like showing up. So track your progress visually, physically, and mentally. I have a habit tracker that I use every day to make sure that I'm continuously staying on my habits. And the rule about your habit tracker is that you put your habit tracker down is that you never miss a day. Never miss a day. That's the only rule. All you have to do is never miss a day. You don't have to do it perfectly. And then lastly, persistence. Consistency beats intensity. Consistency beats intensity. Anyone can go hard for a week, but few can stay steady for a year. That's why when you start going to the gym, you don't do it intensely, because eventually you're just going to start viewing it as something intense. You're going to start viewing it as something difficult. You do whatever you can do for a sustained amount of time. So you got to pick one thing and do it for a long time. So you have to be persistent. Be persistent. That's why people who are successful are not successful in 1 year. They're successful after staying in something for a prolonged amount of time. So you have to stay in motion through doubt, boredom, and silence and hardships. You have to keep going. You have to be persistent, because eventually it will pay off. So that's why you have to be detached from outcomes. No matter what happens, no matter if it's really good, no matter if it's really bad, stay only attached to your process. Because if you stay attached only to your process, it's a lot easier to be persistent. Outcomes are always up and down. They're always up and down. You can't control outcomes, but you can control your inputs. You can control the actions that you do. Persistence is the decision to keep going after the emotion is gone. Whenever you start something new, there's always that feeling of shiny object syndrome. Every business is hard. You just have to know what you're actually willing to persist for. Then lastly, we had evolution. So after you take action, you have to have evolution. You have to continually get better. How do you stay in the game? Emotional mastery. Basically controlling your state and transmuting energy. The first thing to go over with emotional mastery is that you have to recognize that emotional IQ is better than raw intelligence. Because you can have a very high IQ, but you can still have bad relationships. You can still have a bad life. So a way to do this is you have to start recognizing your emotions. So ways to do this is to meditate. When you meditate, you become more mindful. You become more mindful of your reactions. You become more mindful of emotional states. You're actually able to recognize what's going on. You can pause and reflect. Meditating is very important. So you have to meditate and learn how to do that. So you can pause and reflect and name it, and then choose what to do. So this is from the book, Awaken the Giant Within. Let's say you're not having a good time at all. Like you're having a very, very, very horrible experience. And your mind is just going haywire. I know it's going to be hard, but the first thing you have to do in order to fix this and get out of this feeling is to name it. Once you can name your actual emotion, then you can pause and you can step back and actually take a look at it from a third point of view. But that's where emotional intelligence comes from. After you name your emotion, acknowledge the emotion. And then after that, figure out what this emotion's actually trying to help you with. And then get certain that you can handle this not only today, but also in the future as well. And then get excited and take action. If you open the book, Awaken the Giant Within, and you go to the chapter, The 10 Emotions of Power, it's going to show you how to actually take better control of your emotions. Once you do that, and another thing you have to recognize is that emotions are signals, they're not stop signs. And you have to recognize that you need to respond to your emotions, but not react. Okay? First, name your emotion, figure out what it's trying to tell you, and respond to it. Take action on it. That's what emotional intelligence is. Controlling your state instead of your emotions actually controlling you. Taking that state and transmuting it. Energy cannot be created or destroyed, just converted. Next thing is learning and integration. 2 things for this. Number 1, learning and integration. What I didn't learn for a long time is that when you learn something, the way you actually learn something, you have to actually embody what you know. What I realized is that you haven't learned something until you actually changed your behavior. Until it's changed your behavior, you didn't actually learn. You can read all day. You can literally read all day, but if you don't actually change your behavior, you didn't learn anything. You have to actually apply it. You have to apply what you learn in order to really learn. You have to continuously be learning. Always be learning. That's very important for you. Because the more you learn, it's going to compound more and more and more and more. And then eventually, after a certain amount of time, you're going to know so much. And it's going to feel so good to know so much about this sort of thing. It's going to feel good to be an expert in something. You're going to be proud of yourself. You're going to have more self-confidence. So keep learning. Keep integrating what you learn. And lastly, we have spiritual alignment. You have to align with what you actually want to become. So don't try to force outcomes. And you have to let your inner peace guide your next move, not your anxiety. You have to realize that you are only awareness. You are nothing else. You aren't your thoughts. You aren't your emotions. You aren't your behaviors. You are the observer. The more that you align with truth, the less you need to actually chase anything. Alignment is all about attracting instead of chasing. Become the type of person who attracts this, not chases it. Chasing comes from a state of lack. Attracting comes from a place of abundance. You don't earn $1 million. You become the type of person who makes $1 million. That's why you have to stay consistent in your efforts to become a new person, to become the person that will actually make that amount of money, or become the person who actually has what you want. That's why you need to be very clear on your purpose and your vision. When you create your purpose and your vision, you need to figure out what you need to change. You need to also be self-aware enough about what you need to change. You need to know these things. Eventually, you will become the person who is successful. We had to stay consistent in one thing. Stay consistent in one thing, and you have to be able to manage yourself. But as far as that's basically all the information in this video. Make sure that you do subscribe. Have a good and blessed day. See you soon.